Black Clover has dropped a bombshell after bombshell. We thought we knew the races of this world. Humans, elves, devils. But what if I told you there are ancient races hiding in plain sight? And some of them were never meant to exist. We now have angels with God-given grimoire and dragons older than kingdoms themselves. So today, we're breaking down every race in Black Clover and what their existence means for Asta's journey to become the Wizard King. Because once you understand what exists, you'll realize that the devils were never the biggest threat, as the existence of gods has been confirmed. There are multiple deities in Black Clover, so let's start with Lucius addressing it. He answered one of the biggest questions in Black Clover, as he reveals the true purpose of grimoire. Whilst his clones stored for time against Asta and Yuno, Lucius connected his real body to every single grimoire stored in the towers within the Clover Kingdom. He reveals that grimoire are fragments of divine wisdom, gifts given by God to mankind at the dawn of their existence. So these books don't just store spells, they enhance magical ability and improve humanity's capacity to manipulate the phenomena known as magic itself. This confirms the existence of God in the Black Clover world, and now Lucius is stealing that gift for himself. He's literally trying to become a god. The Grimoire Tower is a direct nod to the Tower of Babel from the Bible, where humanity tried to reach God's level and was struck down for it. The Bible teaches that wisdom comes from God, but Lucius is connecting to every grimoire, hijacking all the wisdom of the world to become the Antichrist of the story. Now, in contrast, Asta's entire journey has been about free will and him playing a Jesus-like figure. No magic, he still fought on. Lower class, he still rose to the top. No grimoire, he still won with hard work. He's also a short king because he bagged the baddest women in the kingdom. Asta represents free will, self-determination, and the ability to change fate, whereas Lucius represents control and predestination. So it's a fight for who is right on what it means to be Wizard King, and Asta is fighting to prove that mankind deserves the right to choose their own path, because in truth, chapter 331 revealed Lucius planned the entire story from the very beginning, like a omniscient kami he claims to be. He manipulated key events like a chess master. He personally selected Yami and William, the only mages capable of opening the Cliff of Gates of Hell. He knew Julius would spare William despite starting a war because he needed his world tree magic. He knew about Weg, ancient grimoire runes, and devil magic long before anyone else. And when Asta's 5-leaf grimoire appeared in Hajj village, Lucius was watching. Speaking of Hajj, we just launched our brand new Black Clover travel posters, including this Hajj village design. If you guys cop one, make sure to show me on Twitter and I'll give you guys a shout in the next Black Clover video. So check out the link in the description before Lucius rewrites the timeline again. He smirked the moment he touched the anti-magic sword because he knew it could defeat Lucifero, and Dramelite then confirms it multiple times that Lucius foresaw all of this go down. The clues were always there. Even in chapter 281, Julius runs out of time magic mid-battle unexpectedly. He said himself, how could it end so soon? That's Lucius draining the stored time. In chapter 331, the clock tower starts ticking again after Julius transforms into Lucius, symbolizing time was manipulated during the entire Spade arc, and his counterpart was using stored time magic without him knowing. However, it cannot be a coincidence that Sister Lily in chapter 350 claims she prayed to God for a change to come and eradicate the classism and prejudice in the kingdom and the world. Now, what do you know? Asta was born and given to the very church she later joined, making the difference to the entire world that she wished for. We've all wondered how someone could smash Lasita considering she can literally suck the life force out of you. Well, in truth, she is actually Black Clover's iteration of the Virgin Mary. God blessed her with the flaw that would go up against Lucius, meaning Asta is Black Clover's Jesus by fundamentally changing and affecting those around him, as revealed by Lucius himself in chapter 360. That the current timeline they are on is due to him being the MC. Now, the Bible version of God isn't the only one that exists in Black Clover. We know that the 10 apostles of Sephiroth that the Elves are were selected by God, and that they have divine communication stated in chapter 182. That being is later revealed to be the Dryad, but I'll dive into her more later. Because first, the Hino country also has its own religion. Yami makes Buddhist mudra in chapter 216, because that's what they practice. Ryu's Tengetsu is confirmation of more gods existing, as it's a divine eye possessed by Buddhas. It grants the ability to see anything in the present, regardless of physical distance or obstruction. The design of Ryu's Tengetsu and his lore in the land of the sun draw from Japanese myth, especially Shinto, where deities are often granted divine insight. So in Black Clover, the idea of Ryu sacrificing all his magic to gain divine vision, it mirrors the tales of monks who gave up worldly senses to attain higher wisdom, which the grimoire is said to represent. However, the people of the Seabed Temple, they worship a legendary sea dragon known as Leviathan, revered as their sea god. Now, here's the insane part. Leviathan isn't just some passive god figure. He's a mythical guardian who slumbers in the deep, only awakening when the world is on the brink of collapse. When that time comes, he searches for a powerful mage worthy of forming a contract, not out of desperation, but because he wants someone strong enough to wield his fury and face evil head on. Now that time has come. Sensing the threat of Lucius's Judgment Day, Leviathan rises from the depths and looms over the temple like a divine tsunami. That's when Kahono brings Noelle back to the temple, where Leviathan forms a contract. Later, when Noelle confronts her resurrected mother Asia, she fuses Leviathan's might into a Valkyrie dress, unlocking its dragon form, a power that gives her the strength to stand toe-to-toe with her. And yes, Lucius even hints that in every other timeline, Noelle never reached this point of strength. She would have died without ever forming this contract. But this time, thanks to Asta affecting the timeline and Noelle's acknowledgement of loving him and wanting to marry him and wanting to have his babies, I need to calm down. Those feelings have made her powerful enough to get this contract done. However, let's talk about the biggest dragon Black Clover has ever unleashed, the legendary five-headed of Hino country. This monster wasn't just some random creature, it's a walking apocalypse, soaked in cursed energy so foul it literally tainted the skies, twisted space-time, and turned the sea black. According to Hino folklore, the dragon rampaged centuries ago until a celestial maiden sealed it beneath the waters near Goshu. The people called it divine punishment. Its presence was so corrupting, even fish mutated, like the devil-horned puffer Yami later catches. But here's the twist. Lucius sends his brainwashed paladins to purify and unleash it. Once freed, the dragon starts nuking the countryside. One head, it literally obliterates a mountain, whilst Ryuzen scramble to protect the people. Meanwhile, Asta is off training Zetan, totally unaware the apocalypse just respawned. This ends up feeding into Hino's xenophobic mindset. Remember, they already suspected outsiders bringing calamity and hates them, and now a foreigner shows up in Asta, and next thing you know, demons are destroying their homeland? They weren't wrong to be suspicious, but they'll be dead wrong about our MC Asta, because Asta's about to become a legend. After Zetan training and mastering anti-magic precision, Asta fuses it with his Demon Slayer sword to create a long-range, sky-splitting Zetan. With help from Ryu's Tengetsu, he aligns all 5 heads, and with one strike, he splits the dragon and the sky itself across the entire country. It's a callback to chapter 341. Ryu said the technique was named Heavenly Severance because the original could split the sky. And now, Asta literally does that in front of everyone, where they all start feasting on the meat of a legend, where Asta made all the different people of the country unite, acknowledging that they were wrong about foreigners and that Asta is a good guy. But there's another badass race in Black Clover called the Kijin. In chapter 342, we learn that Yami Tsukihiro's clan are descendants of a legendary warrior race, samurai assassins who protected the land of the rising sun and served the Ryoda clan. They were straight up demon gods on the battlefield. In Japanese Buddhism, Kijin are literally described as Oni so fierce they worship. We're talking Yasha, Asura, the original Giga Chads of divine violence. Now, here's where it gets dark. Yami and Ichika's dad was obsessed with restoring the clan's pride. He believed their Kijin bloodline was being wasted and screaming for violence. So, what does he do? He force feeds his own daughter a pill that awakens dormant power by spiking the urge just to do that. And Ichika, she loses control. She slaughters her entire clan, but in her haze, she remembers one thing: Yami stepping in, taking the blame, and leaving Hino country behind forever. This is the origin of the Black Bulls. Yami formed a team of misfits, rejects, and outcasts because he was one, and the one person who never judged him back home was Ryu, the future shogun. Now fast forward to the present day. Ichika spent years blaming Yami, thinking he was no different from their father and that he was the one that actually killed the clan. Now Asta reminded this woman that, bitch, you're the one that actually did it. She now knows the truth after she fought Asta, receiving memories of the past. So in chapter 374, we see her heartfelt apology to Yami, realizing her brother's greatest act, and that was to carry her sin in silence. Tabata's not done cooking, fam. After watching Yami get bodied by Lucifero and grow a devil heart, Ryu prepares the demon soul pill again, because this time Yami's strong enough to handle it. Now why does this matter? Because Tabata confirmed Yami is physically the strongest character in the entire series, so when Lucius shows up and tries to wipe them out, he takes on the pill and Yami goes full Kijin mode in his race that is known for and slices Lucius in half, becoming freaking 10 times, 100 times, I don't know how many times stronger, but he's definitely the strongest captain in Black Clover now. But let's move on to another mysterious and underrated race in all of Black Clover, the Dwarves. First confirmed in chapter 194, and even then, they were treated like ancient folklore according to Noel and Mimosa, something you'd only hear about in bedtime stories or forgotten history books. But then, boom, Tabata drops the bomb that Charmy is half dwarf, and suddenly we understand why she's one of the most overpowered characters in the entire story. She literally cooks up meals that restore mana, transforms mid-battle, and summons a magical beast that devours magic. But why are dwarves so rare, ABD? Well, in chapter 252, the Heart Queen reveals a key piece of lore. 90% of humanity was wiped out 800 years ago during the first devil invasion. That war didn't just kill people, it nearly erased entire races. So it's heavily implied that the dwarves were nearly driven to extinction or are hiding. The ancient elf in chapter 194 even mentions he's felt this type of dwarf magic before, meaning that they were more active existed 500 years ago, even allies in that ancient war against the devils that I mentioned. Tabata confirms this with Lumiere in chapter 204. He states he only read about devils in an old history book, so the only logical way that info could have been preserved is through the survivors of that first war 800 years ago, since there would be a 300-year gap. That means humans, elves, and dwarves work together. And here's where it gets even crazier. Charmy's powers are deeply tied to mythology. Her wolf is Fenrir from Norse mythology, and in that folklore, dwarves are linked to food and harvest. People would leave offerings for them, but if you disrespected food, they'd curse your livestock or spoil your meal. That's exactly what happens in chapter 194 and 195, when Charmy goes berserk after the ancient elf disrespects food. She says she's going to pound the importance of eating into him. Oh, and one last thing. Dwarves are said to live underground, hidden from human eyes. That's why they're barely seen, unlike the next race that wish they were. The elves are beings blessed by mana itself. They could fly, live for centuries, and cast massive spells without breaking a sweat. They built a peaceful utopia deep in the Forsaken Realm, living in harmony near Hajj village. Now, in those ancient times, the humans looked at the elves as if they were gods. I mean, Licht even told us that elves were the ones that helped humans against natural disasters and watched them grow as a civilization. Well, that was until envy crept in. The royals ruled humans for centuries, and with time kept getting more corrupt and furthering the inequality. However, Licht promised Veto that one day elves and humans would understand each other. He didn't believe the rumors that one day humans would attack. Eventually, Patry witnessed Licht receive a rare 4-leaf clover grimoire, and one day a violent magic tornado struck nearby. Licht rushed in to save a woman trapped inside, and that was none other than Tetia, a human noble. Patry was stunned when he learned that her brother Lumiere also possessed a 4-leaf clover grimoire just like Licht. The bond between the elf leader and the human princess blossomed into love. When Licht later revealed that Tetia was pregnant with twins, it was hailed as a symbol of unity between their races. Together, Licht and Lumiere dreamed of a peaceful future where they coexisted. But that dream, it would soon become a nightmare. The wedding massacre occurs. The entire elf tribe was slaughtered by humans, or so it seemed. Licht's despair turned his 4-leaf grimoire into a 5-leaf, and that's exactly what a certain devil was waiting for. Zagrid, the word-soul devil from the underworld, had orchestrated the entire thing. He possessed a noble from the Clover Kingdom, manipulating ancient humans into fearing the elves' power, and used the first Wizard King's magic tool to wipe them out during the wedding ceremony. A tool that was originally created to help the weak, but it was just exploited. So Zagrid needed Licht's despair to corrupt his grimoire and his body, so he could manifest in the living world. But Licht, he was like, bitch, I ain't no devil's puppet. He turned himself into a demon to stop Zagrid from taking control. But his best friend Lumiere now had the responsibility and no choice but to kill him. However, Tetia's unborn children survived, but Zagrid said, I ain't done yet. He used forbidden magic and the magic stones to cast a reincarnation spell, locking the souls of the elves into time itself. For 500 years, they waited until Patry was reincarnated into William's body. Patry believed humans were always the enemy. He formed the Eye of the Midnight Sun, beginning reviving the other elves, and planned to bring Licht back using the Shadow Palace and the magic stones. So eventually, with the reincarnation ritual activated, many humans are overtaken by elf souls, including several magic knights. Fueled by vengeance, they begin their onslaught on the Clover Kingdom. But guess what? Once again, Zagrid hijacked their entire plan. He revealed himself to Patry and mocked him for being a stupid idiot. So Patry, what else could he do? He snapped. Consumed by guilt and rage, he turned into a dark elf. His soul twisted by despair. His magic became feral and lost all control. But this time, the cycle of hatred breaks. Asta entered Patri's consciousness and confronted him. He forced him to face his guilt, not with hate, but hope. Patri remembered who he used to be, and this time he chose redemption. When reunited with Licht, Patri broke down, and that's when he made a choice to save the Clover Kingdom even if it killed him. Zagreus tried to complete his plan one last time, but he faced Asta, Yuno, and all the elves. They are all united for the first time, and together they did the impossible. They destroyed Zagreus' heart, something thought to be impossible for any devil. Zagreus then resealed the Shadow Palace, and the elves' souls were finally freed, finding peace for once. But remember, Yuno is also one of them. Licht's other twin son's soul is living inside him, but Yuno's human consciousness stayed dominant. This is why during the elf reincarnation arc, Yuno partially awakened but remained himself. But because of his dual origin, Yuno was chosen by two grimoires, the Wind from the Clover Kingdom and the Star Magic grimoire from his original lineage as a Spade Royal, gifted by his biological father, Lois Grinburial. But on top of that, Yuno's elf soul actually gets granted one of the legendary beings born from the four classical elements. We're talking Sylph, Salamander, and Udine. In Black Clover, these aren't just fairy tales. They're real creatures made entirely of mana. Once bonded, a mage's power skyrockets. But it's more than just a buff, it's a partnership. The deeper the bond, the more insane their magic becomes. And when their synchronization hits 100%, they unlock Saint Stage, holy magic that can literally purify devils. But guess what? Only attack mages can access that power, so sorry if you're a healer or you're born with shit powers, if you know what I'm saying. Which is most likely because you know how it is in Black Clover. Anyway, if you can remember, Belle started as a goofy little gremlin on Yuno's shoulder, but evolved into a full-on Wind Queen that has the gooners going to prison, because when they saw that banner, they were wilding and tripping out. Essentially, Yuno's bond with her deepened as he gave her a name. Yuno could now cast spirit magic without chanting and unlocked its full power, slicing through devils with holy wind blades. But spirits can also move on, choosing new wielders or being passed down like Udine in the Heart Kingdom royal line. She served the Heart Kingdom for 1200 years, bonding with queens and raising Lola Pachica like her own daughter. But then Megecula happened and she ruined the whole vibes and everything that was at peace. Lola Pachica was cursed. Udine was devastated, but trained Noelle in secret. So during the war, Megecula cursed Udine too and said, bitch, you're gonna die as well. So it broke the contract that she had with the Heart Queen. So she had to transfer her powers to Noelle, who used it to unlock Saint Stage. In the final battle, Udine fought beside Noelle, Guardia, and Asta to pierce the devil's heart and finally free Lola Pachica. Now Salamander over there, he hasn't said a word since the series started, and he was first shown to us with Fana, the elf, burning everything in sight. But when she was defeated and remembered her true self, the spirit vanished, only to return for Fuguelion. Now Salamander helps him melt devils, roast dark disciples, but that's it. We don't get to see more because in truth, this guy's name is Fraud Golion. He is a fraud. He didn't even unlock Spirit Dive or do anything useful. But speaking of which, there is literally a forest waifu waiting for you, and she has fortune telling. The Dryad race were introduced in chapter 284, the Guardian of Elysia, aka the secret elf village DLC hidden inside a giant freaking tree. She's basically Mother Nature with goddess vibes, and apparently she has a direct line to the plot. This woman predicted everything. Varnica pulling up to the Heart Kingdom, the gates to the underworld cracking open. Dryads saw it all all coming like she binged the entire Black Clover manga. But did she stop it? Well, not exactly. She did send backup who showed up late. Bruh, how did you end up going there late when you could tell the future? Well, it's because of plot purposes. We have to still give her credit even after the L, because she welcomed the injured magic knights into Elysia, patched them up, and gave them the ultimate magic cheat code. And then she drops one of the biggest game changers in the series. She explains how humans can learn mana method training, basically the elf version of skill issue correction, so they can use ultimate magic without having an overpowered bloodline. And for Noelle, basically she is the character that introduced Saint Stage in the first place that she ends up unlocking to kill Megacula, as I mentioned earlier. So basically, Dryad went from a side character to spiritual patronates for the entire arc. Now the surviving elves actually live in Elysia, deep within the Hot Kingdom. Even the descendants of Licht, who are hybrids of humans and elves, all the way back from 500 years ago. Like, just look at them, they're pretty cute. But the other elves, including Raya, Fana, Veto, and Patri. Remember when I explained the elf stuff? Well, Patri, he actually got revived by Rades in Licht's artificial body, and he chose to stay in the living world to amend for his mistakes. So by him training humanity, it kinda makes up for it. But what exactly are they training against? Well, the Supreme Devils, of course. In the world of Black Clover, devils live in the underworld, a realm sealed off from the living world. According to chapter 268, life in the underworld is pure hell. Torment, hierarchy, and survival of the fittest is all they know. Higher ranking devils abuse the weaker ones for fun, and the greatest joy for any devil is toying with humans. But here's the twist. Devils can't even enter the human world by themselves. There's a magical barrier, a gate that kills any devil who tries to pass through without proper means. Now, devils are strictly ranked by power and status from birth, and they cannot move up in the ranks. This cruel caste system forms the entire structure of the underworld, which itself is split into 7 layers. Low tier devils, and these are basically peasants, but even they are terrifying to the average mage. They flooded into the world during the Tree of Cliff of Ritual. Then there's mid-tier devils. They're stronger, more humanoid, and often form contracts. Nox's devils are examples of that, but they are still terrified of higher rankers. High-ranked devils include Zagreus. These devils have insane mana, unique magic types, and often manipulate humans from the shadow. However, the Supreme are the rulers. Names like Lucifero, Astaroth, Beelzebub, and Megacula. They also want to conquer the planet. Chapter 246 explains that the Tree of Cliff-Off is the only large-scale way to bring devils into the world en masse. It's based on the Jewish Kabbalah, a dark reflection of the Tree of Life. Each gate of the tree opens a new level of hell. The deeper you go, the stronger the devils that emerge. To open the tree, you need dark magic and world tree magic. Lucius manipulated the Dark Triad to gather Yami and William as sacrifices. And just like Lucifero, the Dark Triad believe evil emotions aren't flaws. They're the truth of humanity, evident when Dante confronted Asta about it. But even amongst devils, rare cases like Liebe exist. He was bullied endlessly until a devil threw him at a gate. But because he had zero mana, the barrier didn't detect him and he passed through to Earth. That's when Lasita, Asta's mother, found him. She took him in and raised him like a son. But when Lucifero tried to possess Liebe's body, Lasita sacrificed her life to protect him. Liebe was then sealed into Licht's 5-leaf grimoire that Asta eventually gets, but he was filled with hatred for devils for 15 years within it. And that's how anti-magic was born. Later, Narc tells us how to subjugate a devil to serve you. You have to cast a ritual circle using a relic or totem. If the mage wins the fight, they can form a contract, and if they lose, well, what do you expect? You die. But Asta and Liebe's bond is unprecedented. Rather than dominate Liebe, Asta made a pact of equality, mirroring their shared pain and bond through Lucita. However, when ordinary mages, let's say you're not the MC, you're not him, you have no aura, well, if you use too much devil power, your soul pays the price. That's where Weg comes in. The corruption of one's soul caused by prolonged exposure to negative mana. Even Sakuri was affected after using forbidden magic to seal the first Wizard King. Her body was permanently altered. That's because devil mana is inherently malicious, and when Yami first felt Zagreus, for example, he felt like it was disgusting, or knocked when facing Namath and Lilith, stating that his mind would go insane. Devil hosts like the Dark Triad form contracts, but the more power you borrow, the more of your body or soul you would lose. Xenon, for example, he made a deal to literally gain a devil heart just so he can defeat Yuno. Swiftly bringing me to the most chaotic race in Black Clover. Humans, the dominant species of the world. They live everywhere. Clover, Spade, Heart, and Diamond, each with different monarchies, magic systems, and political chaos. There are even other continents like Hino Country, which is basically Black Clover's version of Japan. Humans may not be born blessed by mana like the elves, but they've got something way more dangerous. It's the ability to evolve. Magic is second nature to humans. From cooking dinner to blowing up kingdoms, magic fuels everything. They create magic tools, invent squads like the Magic Knights, and develop next level techniques like Mana Zone and Mana Method, all by pushing their limits. Now, here's where it gets wild. In chapter 228, the Heart Queen reveals that the Clover Kingdom gave up the divine protection of natural mana centuries ago. Why? Because human society developed. They started relying more on man-made systems of power, and in that process, something new was born. It's called Arcane magic. These are spells that defy the laws of nature. Stuff like dark, time, steel, spatial, and even chain magic. Now at age 15, every human receives a grimoire that evolves with them. Your trauma, your growth, your resolve, it literally becomes your next spell. Take Noelle for example. She unlocked her Valkyrie armor right after her brother finally acknowledged her. Her emotions, her resolve to save her family, that's what triggered the power. And later, in chapter 301, her love and compassion for loving Asta helped her master Saint stage, proving that raw feelings fuel human magic. But human society? Well, we live in one because it's brutal. Status is tied to magic power, and magic power is tied to birth. Nobles and royals get praised just for existing. Commoners with low mana? Well, they're discarded like trash. But here's the twist. Even nobles like Noelle get bullied if they can't control their magic. That's why people like Noelle break the mold, training, fighting, and literally rewriting their fate due to the Asta effect changing the timeline. Speaking of which, sometimes a human is so in tune to mana, they're said to be loved by it, such as Yuno. But what about someone who isn't? Enter Asta. Patry literally said he's hated by mana, and Lucius calls him a flaw in the world. But this dude, he somehow became the strongest weapon for humanity. Asta is going to fix the world for all its mistakes because, let's be real, humans can be monsters. Like, look at Exhibit A, this dude named Morris, a human scientist who turned magic into a literal horror story. He experimented on people, twisted biology with devil science, and offered his body to Lucifero like he's a freaking lab sample. Morris shows how ambition without morality corrupts absolutely. He even took over the entire bloody Diamond Kingdom, exploited children. Just think about how evil you have to be. He is the Orochimaru of Black Clover. So it wasn't just royals who caused massacres. It was power-hungry humans chasing godhood. But At the end of the day, this is a shonen, and not all humans are trash. Look at Yami, he took in misfits, and they redefined what it means to be a human. For example, Lucifer, the king of devils, he had to respect them after they wounded him. His acknowledgement proves it. Humans are dangerous because they don't give up, and the bonds they have together can surpass the evil in the world. Even Megecula, before dying, she had to admit she underestimated humanity, shocked by their ability to evolve and surpass limits that she thought were absolute. Asta's been showing this resolve since day one. Remember when Sisgolion wanted to kill Raya after beating him up? Asta stepped in, believing in mutual understanding, that even enemies could find peace if they had something worth protecting. That's the kind of wizard king he wants to be. A ruler who unites all the races, not divides, just like Licht and Lumiere. He even told Noelle's siblings off when they bullied her. He stood up to the nobles and royals and said everyone deserves a chance. He defied Damnatio and risked his life to save Marie in the courtroom, knowing that it would incriminate him, because that's what's called real leadership. Asta brings people together because a good wizard king needs to inspire trust, not command it like Lucius does. So, Asta doesn't care about your birth, your race, or your past. He gave Nacht redemption. He saved Patry from despair. And as a result, Asta has broken fate time and time again, destined to defeat Lucius, who is the embodiment of everything corrupt in humanity. But of course, not all humans stayed free. Some were corrupted, reforged into something new. Under Lucius's soul magic, they became paladins and false angels. The angel race he created are artificial abominations made by fusing multiple humans into one. Lucius literally took people he deemed unfit for his utopia and mushed them into flying monsters that now serve as his holy army. Even Morris confirms it. He forcefully evolved them into perfect beings to fight for this so-called New World Order. These angels have super OP magic. They can wield multiple attributes at once, block spells from all directions, fire light mana beams that erase anything in their path. No one stood a chance against them except for the captains or the blackboards. Everyone else that isn't a named character or doesn't reach that mark of rank, you're basically fodder in front of them despite all their training. But the upgrade to the angel race are the paladins. They have near infinite mana, they retain their personalities and memories, but Lucius implants a single unshakable command in their brain. Lucius is righteous, a belief that overrides everything else. Take a look at Morris, for instance. He was ecstatic to begin experimenting again once he was revived, but Lucius taps his forehead, altering his soul, and sends him to perform research and experiments for the sake of Lucius's world peace instead. Their grimoires also mutate, gaining entirely new spells based on devil-infused magic. Even weaklings like Sister Lily and Heath Grice of all people become absolute monsters. Like, think about it. Morris, a scientist with zero combat skill, pushes Mary Leona, one of the Clover Kingdom's strongest mages and captains, a candidate to be Wizard King, to the brink of death, especially since Lucius revealed that in one of the timelines, Sisgolion was actually meant to die to this dude. That's how OP the Paladins are. But let's talk about Sister Lily for a second. Lucius gave her Beelzebub's spatial magic, turning her into one of his first creations. When Lily tried to kill Asta, her subconscious stopped her because her love for him endured even through brainwashing. When she sees Asta again in the Hino country, she states, "Why are you doing it?" And later, when the real Lily comes back, she admits that she never truly wanted to kill Asta. It's all Lucius's control. Lily has always been there for the dude, so when she teleported him away, it wasn't to die, it was to save him. Lucius thought Asta was dead because he can't see his future. On top of that, anti-magic can sever a paladin's devil connection, but it then leaves them them in a coma, like Sister Lily and Damnatio, whom Asta swore to bring back after killing Lucius. Essentially, Sister Lily's soul is trapped inside a body that tried to murder the boy she helped raise. Like with the Elves, their souls were replaced, but with Paladins, they remain intact with their memories. That means Lily will always remember that she was sent to kill the very boy she once inspired to become Wizard King. That's why Asta says this isn't righteous, and he will never forgive Lucius for what he's doing, because true peace doesn't come from obedience, it comes from the freedom of will, and Lucius took that away, just like the next Paladin, Acia Silver, once the strongest woman in the Clover Kingdom, considered to be the Wizard Queen. Lucius defiled that legacy, resurrecting her as a Paladin fused with a purified devil, but now her daughter Noelle is the very girl once rejected by her own family, standing in her way. Acia, under influence, believes even if her kids are pathetic, they'll get a second chance in his perfect world. But Noelle, she calls the bullshit on her mom. She knows this isn't her real mother and how she thinks, because during the fight against Megacula, she already saw Acia's spirit pass on. So after a year of intense training, Noelle's first real test finally arrives. She clashes with her mother in a battle, a collision so massive it shatters the battlefield. But just as Acia prepares to end her daughter's life, Nozel, Nebra and Solid arrive, and for the first time ever, the Silver family fights together, apologizing to Noelle for everything they had done to her and acknowledging that she's the very best of them. This earns them Acia's acknowledgement in death that they will surpass their limits together as a loving family, fixing all their trauma. This is just like another tragic Paladin story named Morgan. He was the light, a hero of the Magic Knights, beloved, kind and full of hope. But Lucius twisted that light, resurrecting him with Lucifugis, the supreme devil, which was the very one that killed him. Morgan is a puppet of false righteousness, brainwashed to believe Lucius's peace was the dream that he always had. But Lucius didn't just bring him back, he weaponized guilt. Every light attack by Morgan reminded Yami of his failures. Every strike reminded Noct of the brother that he couldn't save. So when Yami and Noct fought to save what was left of Morgan's soul, for the first time, they stood united and defeated him. However, all these victories against the Paladins just paved a way to a newer version of their race. Lucius was binding time to control all the magic in the world, so he resurrects the dead once again, this time creating Morris, Acia and Morgan looking exactly how they are depicted in the Bible as archangels. They are designed after the cherubim, seraphim and the living creatures seen in the book of Ezekiel and Revelation, the most terrifying angels signaling the world is about to end. But of course, that ain't gonna happen on Asta's watch. So to find out how he will beat Lucius with Zetan, watch this video on your screen right now.